Hi everyone and welcome to Rad Chat. We're here live at UKIO. My name's Jo McNamara and I'm joined by fellow host
Naman Joker Anderson.
So, we have another lovely guest to sit on the Rad Chat sofa. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure, yeah. I'm Gareth Hill, and a therapeutic radiographer I'm proud of. So, anything else you want to know?
Always. We want to know everything about you. Firstly, though, why are you here at UKIO?
Okay, so I'm here because I was an invited speaker. I've just spoken at an amazing session hosted by Kerry Mills, who is, again, another radiographer with a very high profile. And I was speaking about senior leaders specialist interest group that I co-chair with another very famous radiographer, Dr. Janice St. John Matthews. So that is why I was here today, to raise the awareness of the thing that we're doing in a SIG.
How do you define a senior leader? What does that mean?
Right, okay, well that's a bit controversial. So,
we love a bit of controversy.
Yeah, okay. So, Janice and I were actually at UKIO probably about 2-3 years ago now. We were having a coffee and catching up about what we did. So, I am a former head of radiotherapy by background, and now I work in a very senior role in the NHS in Scotland. And Janice has, at the time, a remit where she was working in an NHS England post where she was responsible for it. It was a massive strategic brief that she'd got. And we were chatting and saying, we don't really see many radiographers that are working in these very senior roles. So we said, that doesn't seem quite right. There does seem to be quite a few nurses. There seem to be quite a number of physiotherapists, occupational therapists, but yet for some reason there don't seem to be many radiographers. So we were having a chat and we spoke to Charlotte Beardmore at the Society and Richard Evans, and they agreed to support the creation of a specialist interest group. And Janice and I both co-chair it, and it started in January last year. We have about 25 people that are members, and we come from really quite variety. We cover quite a variety of different things. So by background, the thing that we all have in common is that we're radiographers. Yeah. Most of us are working at that kind of very senior management pay scale, or 8D kind of agenda for change pay scale and up.
I can see already where the controversy comes.
Yes. So we do recognise that there are a number of people that are working in, like, say, for example, 8B posts or 8C posts that do have broad strategic remits. They do, absolutely. So, and actually we've been there are ongoing discussions about our membership. Yeah. We actually are probably keen to maybe establish some sort of other group that we can work in tandem with, because these people are usually working not quite at the same level but are still working at a very senior role. And one of the things that Janice and I are particularly keen to do is to encourage people to be able to take the next step up. Yeah. The other thing as well is we recognise that being that lone voice that you tend to be in the room, there's something about having that kind of professional connectivity with your colleagues. There's something about being a radiographer that's important to all of us, and we want to make sure that people maintain those roots. But at the same time, we're also trying to provide a safe space in which people can be able to talk about some of the difficulties they experience in those kind of senior positions. So you're quite right. There's something there about maintaining a community of practice and a safe group. So in some respect, I wouldn't like to describe it as closed. It's not a closed group, but at the same time, it's not porous, because there's something about trying to maintain that level of, I suppose, psychological safety, and also as well with the amount of changes that are happening, particularly at the moment at that level within the NHS. There's a lot of people in our group that are having a lot of difficulties in their posts. Some have been made redundant, some are facing career choices where they're having to go. So there's something there about the fact that we need to preserve that kind of space, but then at the same time what we want to do is we want to work with others to make sure that they feel as if they can either join us on certain work, and also as well another space for people to be able to collectively commune as well that are interested in progressing too. So there's a balance to find, and we haven't quite got it right. We've only been around about a year, but I think there's other colleagues that we potentially wanted to do work with where we might potentially start to get radiographers that have other types of networks as well that preserve the level of practice that they are in and the work that they're doing.
And I suppose it's that element, isn't it, of aspiring leaders. And I teach leadership from an undergraduate perspective all the way through to kind of consultancy posts. And it is really interesting that people maybe don't attribute themselves as being a leader unless you're in a management or strategic role. When you know, as you will know, you can be a leader as a Band 5 newly qualified radiographer.
Of course you can, no, absolutely. Those traits of good leadership, I think we recognise, Janice and I, that we have intrinsic in our profession and that we've got capabilities and skills, particularly about working beyond our own professional boundaries, working with very senior clinicians, physicists, where we're often having to advocate for a patient or a particular aspect of the service. We're encouraged with regards to our clinical work to be able to speak up. We're very used to working in a heavily governed environment, so there's lots of skills that we have that require good leadership in clinical practice every day, and that doesn't matter what level that you're working at. Where I would say that we probably need to do more work is that we don't still have people, though, that are radiographers or identify as being radiographers that are working at that very senior level. Some of the work that Janice and I have looked at is the fact that there are only two, research suggests there are only two chief allied health professional roles in boards or AHP director kind of posts in the whole of the UK, so
and
this covers
crazy,
in. There are only two.
That's
That's it. When you look at the number of HCPC registrations with the HCPC register, what you actually find is that we are ranked number 2 in terms of the number of registrants on the register. We're even above occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, paramedics, and yet you see them far more visible in some of these spaces. And it's not that we don't think that that should be the case, it's just that we recognise that there's a significant disparity when it comes to radiographers, and there's something that we need to address. So these good people that are demonstrating excellent leadership qualities at all levels of the profession, we want to encourage people to aim higher and to keep breaking that ceiling. So that's what that's about and what we're keen to do.
It's also important for other leaders from other sectors to view us as maybe not even just equals, but that we're supposed to have a seat at the table. As much as we always whinge and joke about physios getting everything, there's got to be some sort of way for radiographers soon. The amount of innovation, AI adoption, workflows, like all the things that we do across both. I think people just need to see us outside the bunker.
I think that's the thing. There's two ways in which we need to try and enable that, isn't there? We need to encourage people to be able to step into these roles and realise that radiographers are more than capable, able, and have the skills to do these kind of roles well. We also need a little bit of professional support as well amongst our professions. You're a lecturer. I'm sorry, I don't actually know what your professional background is. Consultant therapeutic radiographer. Excellent example there. So we're all therapeutic radiographers by background, aren't we? Some of the things that we experience and face within our profession is sometimes that unless you've, say for example, treated 40 breast patients in a day, some people in our profession don't necessarily view that you've done a day's hard work, or that you're not a radiographer anymore. And actually other professions don't have that kind of mindset. So I think there's two things. So that's where I'm probably looking at maybe some of the kind of entrapment systems, so that we need to value the fact that people are out advocating for our profession, our work, raising the profile of what we do, like you both do an excellent job of doing. So but it's an example of where we're not necessarily doing shop floor jobs, but that also means as well that we're not undervaluing those roles. We still value those roles. They're the bread and butter of our profession, but we need to encourage people as well to feel that they can go into other areas where we've not necessarily been very well represented. So,
Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you so much. Can I just ask, if someone was at that strategic level and they wanted to join the SIG, how do they go about it?
So our full terms of reference and contact details are on the Society and College of Radiographers website under their specialist interest group pages, and I would encourage people to have a look, and there may even be further developments in the future as well about other groups that people can join that may be appropriate for them if they don't quite fit. So I would encourage people to look.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us on the Rad Chat sofa.
No problem. So thank you.
Thank you.